let's come together once again to analyze what we have done with the introductory lesson to Geordie's fawn. Times have changed, so have the students, and so has the classroom. But befitting the requirements of a 21st century learner, much can be done in an English classroom. The contributions we can offer in an English classroom can be in terms of language, values, skills, and also the power of integrating technology into all walks of life. In keeping with these objectives, we teachers also have to look for innovative ways to render English lessons. What we have tried in this lesson is not extraordinary, but simple things we can try to incorporate these objectives without much hassle to the student or to the teacher. So, let us have a look at what are the objectives we have set for this one particular lesson when we introduce the lesson to the students with the lesson Geordie's fawn. The introductory lesson of Geordie's fawn has been set with the following objectives. Number 1, to be able to understand and express emotions to enhance their emotional intelligence. Number 2, to revive and exchange information available in their environment and to be environmentally sensitive. For example, home remedies we talk about in this lesson. Third objective we have considered for this one lesson is use of strategies for retelling or narrating or reconstructing, applying grammar rules and paraphrasing and summarizing. One example for a grammar rule we have incorporated into this lesson is direct to indirect speech. A fourth objective we have set for this lesson is applying sequencing skills in planning for writing or speaking as a part of academic or personal skills. Now, let us look at the activities we did in class one by one. The first activity we did was a fact check. Why did we do that? We have to keep in mind that students in a multilingual class is a huge resource that teachers can turn to, because every child comes in with his unique set of experiences and exposures. When we did a fact check, we were actually trying to elicit the known information from the children and also to generate a spirit of inquiry. Technically, we can call this sowing the seeds of inquiry based learning, or in short we can say EBL. I quote from Bill Hutchings, "Inquiry based learning inspires students to learn for themselves, bringing in a real research oriented approach to the subject." It is this base that we rely on when we go for a fact check at the beginning of the lesson. Following up from the fact checking, it was a slide which read, "Did you know?" It might look like a mere information transfer to an outsider, but for an insider, for a teacher, it has other objectives. When we try to compare the differences between horns and antlers, and when we pass the information to the students, we were actually using the words of compare and contrast, and we were using sentences with dependent and independent clauses. That was a simple technique which could unconsciously expose the children to grammatical structures we want to teach them, or advanced ways of joining ideas together to give the sentence a very formal texture. So, no activity or no question or no statement in an English classroom is wasted. It always comes with a purpose. For example, let us look at the sentence, Although they are made entirely from bone, they are not permanent structures. When a student writes down this sentence, he unconsciously gains exposure to a punctuation rule, which is, in a sentence, if the independent clause comes first, no punctuation is required to separate the two. Moreover, using the facts they found out, when we ask them to create a graphic organizer for similarities and differences, many objectives can be achieved. The use of transition words or discourse markers or linkers can be taught with the opportunities to write about it. This one sentence can show you where this comes into application. Antlers are shed annually, whereas horns are permanent unbranched structures made of keratin. You can even see that there is interdisciplinary learning here. So, from facts, we reach the text through the integration of grammar. Depending on the context of the classroom, only a teacher knows what the context is, because every teacher has a unique context. So, depending on the context of the classroom, a teacher can take this further to explain to students the different ways of writing a compare and contrast essay. Generally, there are two ways of writing a compare and contrast essay. One is the block structure and the second one is a point by point structure. What is the difference between these two structures? Even though all of us may be doing this or writing this on a regular basis, it has to be translated to a student's knowledge domain, which needs a little bit of planning. Now, let us see what is the basic difference between these two modes of compare and contrast writing, the block method and the point by point method. For the block structure, all of the information about one of the objects being compared or contrasted is given first, and all of the information about the other object is listed afterwards. Whereas, in a point by point structure, each similarity or difference for one object is followed immediately by the similarity or difference for the other. If you have noticed carefully, there was a statement or there was a comment made to the students which said, "Talk to your teacher and find out more." That even is not a casual statement. What we wish to see as a school or a learning environment culture has to be instilled little by little in each one of our lessons. When we ask a student to talk to his science teacher, we are actually developing his interpersonal skills. We make him understand that there is a democratic nature that is existing about learning in our learning institution. So, these are all lifelong learning skills which cannot be stopped at any point of time. Besides interpersonal skills, this is also a promotion of interdisciplinary learning. When such channels of communication are opened up by teachers for students, it develops a sense of interconnectedness within the institution. This is key to collaborative learning. Now, what is collaborative learning and is it any better than individual learning? Unlike individual learning, people engaged in collaborative learning capitalize on one another's resources and skills.
Now, why did we talk about home remedies? Home remedies for insect bites, upset tummy, wounds. We spoke about manjal, murikuti, nutmeg, അതായത് ജാതിക്ക. The concept of home remedy and a few examples with pictures and their names in different languages was introduced next, which helped us work on three major objectives. We asked the question, have you heard your mother speak about turmeric? And also we introduced a Kannada phrase, Sarvaguna Sampanna Arishina Emba Sanjeevani. One objective was to introduce the term home remedy and to reinforce the word with multiple examples. The second objective was to bring in cultural and environmental connection and to value the information that is passed down within a family, within a village or tribe, or at a later stage within the workplace. For example, more experienced co-workers to less experienced co-workers. Here, learning can go beyond the home remedies and culture, respecting, protecting and maintaining cultural diversity among the people inside and outside, locally and globally. Thus, we develop the mindset for the idea that together the cultures of the world create a rich and varied tapestry.
A third objective was to introduce prefixed compounds. Students got a touch of affixes in English by the introduction of the word micro, anti, etc. Is this knowledge of morphemes essential for a student? I would say yes. Teaching morphemes unlocks the world of structures and meanings within a word to students. They get a strong sense of prefixes, suffixes and base words which will develop their natural curiosity about words. Thus, morphemes are important for phonics in both reading and spelling as well as in vocabulary and comprehension. This helps competency development with advancing years. In the exercise that followed, we asked a student to expand the meaning of prefixed compounds. Antioxidant means, the child was asked to expand what it means. What was this exercise meant for? This exercise was meant to develop the child's capacity to expand a prefixed compound in such a way that he will be able to explain the meaning of that word to somebody else. This is a key skill. In all walks of life, even in the personal circles, this capacity to explain what you know to other people is of great importance. The objectives we choose in a lesson can be short term or long term. Now, will a child have a long term benefit if he learns to use a single word instead of many words to explain his thought? Yes, he would. Because in advanced stages of writing for academic purposes, there comes a situation where a child will have to restrict himself to the number of words prescribed by the authority. In such cases, replacing a descriptive part of a sentence with a single word will definitely be of help to a student. So, this can be the long-term objective behind learning prefixed compounds and the art of explaining prefixed compounds to people who are in need. In a multilingual classroom, when this freedom is given to the students, it is giving the children an experience or an opportunity to reflect on their own unique experiences and exposures of the world. We have to remember, every child sees the world with his own eyes. So, whatever he sees is what a child has to reflect with. That is the reason why the movie was introduced prior to talking about plot in a reading text. It would be ideal in a multilingual classroom if they are allowed group work to discuss their favorite movie. This will automatically bring in words like hero, heroine, fight, the villain, the sorrows, the emotions, etc., with which we can easily pave the way to technical terms like plot, characters, thought, diction, dialogue, setting, conflict, and what not. By this step, we have already laid the foundation of analyzing any fictional text. Now, if you once again look at the short-term goals on the long-term goals, this is just a beginning which can take the child to advanced levels like reading a text, summarizing a text, writing about a text, talking about a text, writing a criticism to a text, or even creating his own text. This is Bloom's taxonomy in action. Even though we are busy analyzing the elements of the text, the possibility of integrating grammar into all these interactions always stay open. That is why repeatedly certain statements are made using the display or by repeated statements that we make from the text. So, integrating grammar into every interaction that we do in class is an easy way to develop unconscious awareness of grammatical structures and concepts.
The next part of our lesson is meant to show the conflicts that takes the story forward. There are two types of conflicts, that is internal and external. Now, let us have a look at the internal conflict. Internal conflict is when a character struggles with their own opposing desires or beliefs. It happens within them and it drives their development as a character. Or in other words, it is a character versus self conflict. That is, internal conflict which involves a psychological struggle that takes place within a character, and it is caused by their own emotions, fears, conflicting desires or mental illness. So, this is internal conflict. Now, how is external conflict different from internal conflict? Let us have a look at external conflict. External conflict sets a character against something or someone beyond their control. External forces stand in the way of characters' motivations and create tension. Including both internal and external conflict is very crucial to a story, because as we all know, life is a mixture of both. In the introductory part of the lesson, Jodi's fawn, the act of killing the doe can be explained, because this is a life-saving option for father and he is relieved from death. The effect of killing the doe on the father is different. But what about the son? And what about the fawn? On one hand, the son is happy because he saved his father. On the other hand, he is sad because somehow he was the reason for the fawn to be orphaned. These questions on the conflict are meant to fulfill certain objectives: to develop perspectives, number 2, to differentiate between external and internal conflicts, number 3, provide an opportunity to analyze and explain why a student identifies a conflict as internal and external. Number 4, the great philosophy that in nature has a network which adds to the tapestry image of the world.
It will be interesting to know that the best resources for an English class comes totally free of charge. The easiest thing we can use is the whiteboard, on which we can give diagrammatic representations to our thoughts. When we put down an idea in the form of a diagram, we are actually giving visual representation to our thoughts. Our thoughts cannot be seen, neither can we see what the students think. So, flow charts, for that matter, is an easily available resource which I think students must know how to use. What are the benefits of using a flow chart in class? What are the benefits of making the students learn how to create flow charts? Let's see what they are. It helps to represent and understand the sequence of a process. Number 2, it helps analyze a problem and seek out a solution. Number 3, it provides visual clarity. Number 4, it helps effective analysis. Number 5, it helps documentation. And number 6, I must say this is the most important reason why we call it beneficial. It creates a big picture of the ultimate goals. Normally, flow charts are related to business, commerce, etc. Need not be. Any tool can be adapted to an English classroom. Let's see how we could integrate multiple purposes into this one flow chart while we are dealing with this lesson. Number 1, use of keywords for reinforcement. Number 2, sequencing the events in the story using keywords. Number 3, applying the principles of reported speech during the lesson. Number 4, allowing students speaking opportunities. Number 5, summarizing skill using diagrams and keywords.
How can we connect the tale of Punyakoti in terms of objectives set for the classroom? Let's never forget that every child is different. The wealth of information inside the classroom is indefinite. So, let's see what objectives have been thought of. Number 1, utilizing the potentials of multilingual classroom. Creating values comes the second. Third, nobility of maternal instincts. 4, victory of truth. Number 5, using multiple pathways to reach the concepts of conflict and emotional preoccupation.
It comes free of cost, all at the expense of one flow chart. If we look at what we have done in this lesson, we didn't do the reading for them. What we must do is making them to read the lesson. So, using all these simple activities, our purpose in this introductory lesson was to create that curiosity in the mind of the child to find out what is in the text. What will happen to Jody? What will happen to the fawn? Will he find it? Will the fawn be dead? So, that encouragement has to be given by constant reiteration of the interesting elements in the text. So, repeatedly we have to make the child feel that the text has a surprise, and a child has to go in search of the surprise. If there is a student who finds it difficult to read, we can always support that reading process. But as a teacher, I believe we must not read for the student. The student must read and find out. Only that builds in competence in the language. Besides, when we ask the students to narrate or reconstruct a story using the flow chart, we can offer them opportunities to use the keywords and also to apply the principles of grammar that they have learned or that they have been exposed to. Theoretically, it is said that a word to be part of his vocabulary bank must be exposed to the child a minimum number of 8 times. It can be in the form of spelling, reading, writing, watching, making a sentence. So, repeatedly making a child to narrate in class or such opportunities given for discussion within groups will naturally build the strength of his vocabulary. The activity of creating the dialogue between Punyakoti and the tiger has no direct connection to the content of the text. However, it serves bigger roles. When this activity is given to be done as a teamwork or in a group, it gives plenty of opportunities to explore the creativity of students in a multilingual classroom. Taken further, this can even be an opportunity for performance, where students with dramatic intelligence, the intelligence to perform, can get a chance to show or showcase their talent in the class. So, creating a dialogue can be connected to recalling the emotions of the characters in the story, which is connected to emotional intelligence. It offers chances for group discussion, which allows them to see what are the thoughts in the group's mind. Taken further, we can even give a chance for performance within class. That would make the class a lively space full of productive noise. The writing task assigned is a combination of many skills and practices. Let's see a few. As per your creativity and as per your context and as per the nature of your students, it can be even more, it can be even different. The ones I have or the ones we have put together in this lesson may be looked at in this way: brainstorming, sequencing, use of discourse markers, recalling, application of the grammar learned, writing the first draft and proofreading, which takes them up the ladder of learning. These are not skills exclusively for the grade, but skills that prepare them to be lifelong learners with employability skills. Moreover, since the task assigned is a narrative writing, it allows the play of other factors like emotions, culture, memory, feelings, etc. These are meant to develop respect for the self, for others, and for the environment, which would gradually build them to be global citizens. So, this would make our approach a holistic approach that encompasses many qualities, features, and values needed for a global citizen. It comes at no cost. The potentials of an English classroom is infinite, even the more greater if it is a multilingual classroom. The wealth of unique experiences that the student community brings into a multilingual classroom must not be overlooked. Many researchers and many academicians say that this is the most unused potential of a classroom. We just need to manage the resources properly to explore this indefinite possibilities of a multilingual classroom. It adds to the collective conscience, which strengthens and adds colors and beautiful meanings to the rich and varied tapestry that every one of us is a part of. Let teaching and learning continue to be fun. Thank you.